The stars looked different from the observation deck of Horizon Station. Commander Alan Brooks stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the massive alien ship approach. The vessel dwarfed their station, its dark metal surface reflecting no light, seeming to swallow the stars behind it instead. "They're early," said Lieutenant Olivia Martinez, joining him at the window. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, but the dark circles under her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. The entire Earth delegation had been working around the clock to prepare for this meeting. "They're making a point," Brooks replied. "Power move. Show up ahead of schedule, keep us off balance," Martinez nodded. "The translation matrix is ready? We should be able to understand them, and they us." Brooks turned away from the window. At 53, he had spent his entire adult life in the Earth Defense Fleet. He never expected to be humanity's representative for first contact. That job should have gone to politicians or diplomats, but when the alien transmission arrived 3 months ago, it specifically requested military representation. "Let's not keep our guests waiting," he said. The docking bay was a flurry of activity. Security teams took their positions, medical staff stood by, and the science team checked their equipment one final time. The massive doors opened slowly, revealing the alien delegation. The Krillians were tall, easily 7 feet, with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their 4 eyes, 2 large primary ones and 2 smaller ones above, blinked independently of each other. What looked like fine, metallic feathers covered their heads instead of hair. The lead alien stepped forward. "I am High Emissary Zorvax of the Krillian Empire. We bring greetings from the Galactic Confederation." The translation came through clearly in everyone's earpieces. Brooks stepped forward. "Commander Alan Brooks of Earth, we welcome you to Horizon Station." The formal introductions continued as the delegation moved to the conference room. Earth scientists and diplomats mixed with Krillian officials, all speaking through their translation devices. The mood was cautiously optimistic. Martinez stayed near the back, monitoring the translation system on her tablet. Something caught her attention: a slight discrepancy between what the Krillian said and what was being translated. She adjusted some settings, isolating one of the aliens' subvocal communications. Primitive weaponry. Their defenses would fall within days. Came a whispered translation that wasn't meant to be heard. Martinez felt her blood run cold. She continued to monitor, catching fragments of conversation not meant for human ears. The Krillians were discussing invasion plans while pretending to negotiate peace terms. She needed to warn Brooks without alerting the aliens. The main conference was breaking for a recess. Martinez approached Brooks casually, showing him her tablet as if reviewing schedule notes. "Sir, the translation matrix is picking up their private communications. This isn't a peace delegation, it's an advance team for invasion." Brooks kept his expression neutral, eyes scanning the data on her screen. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. They're assessing our defenses, mapping key military installations. They see Earth as strategically valuable, but consider us ... She hesitated. "Expendable." Brooks nodded slightly. "Get to the communication bay. Send everything you've gathered to Earth Command. Use emergency protocols." "What about you, sir?" "I'll keep them talking. Buy us some time." Martinez slipped away while Brooks rejoined the aliens, his smile never revealing the dread he felt inside. In the communication bay, Martinez worked quickly, compiling the evidence and preparing the transmission. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, encoding the message with Earth's highest security protocols. The door behind her slid open. She turned, expecting to see a member of their team. Instead, 2 Krillian soldiers stood there, weapons drawn. The transmission device. "Step away from it," one ordered. Martinez reached slowly for her sidearm, but the Krillian fired first. The blast hit the console beside her, showering her with sparks and debris. She dove behind a storage unit, drawing her weapon and returning. Fire. Alarms blared throughout the station. The attack had begun. In the conference room, Brooks was surrounded by security personnel as explosions rocked the station. "We need to evacuate. They're jamming communications." "What about Lieutenant Martinez?" asked one of the security officers. "Find her. I'm heading to the emergency shuttle bay." The station shuddered again. Life support warnings flashed on every screen. The Krillian ship had attached itself to the station and was sending boarding parties through multiple access points. Brooks fought his way through corridors filled with smoke and flickering lights. 2 Krillian soldiers appeared at an intersection ahead. He fired quickly. Catching both before they could raise their weapons, he reached the communication bay to find it in ruins. Bodies of both humans and Krillians on the floor. Martinez was nowhere to be seen. Commander? The voice came from behind a damaged console. Martinez emerged, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead. I got the message out before they attacked, but I don't know if it was received. We need to go. Now. Brooks helped her to her feet. They made their way to the emergency shuttle bay, encountering resistance at every turn. The station was being overrun. Most of the Earth delegation was already dead or captured. Why are they doing this? Martinez asked as they sealed the shuttle door behind them. We pose no threat to them. Brooks initiated the launch sequence. Power, resources, strategic position. The usual reasons for any war. The shuttle broke free from the dying station, but a Krillian fighter was in pursuit. Martinez took the weapons controls, firing defensive measures as Brooks pushed the engines beyond safety limits. I managed to download some of their communications before escaping, Martinez said, connecting her tablet to the shuttle system. There's something else driving them, something about us specifically. The information appeared on the main screen: Krillian religious texts and military directives. Martinez highlighted a recurring phrase in their language. This keeps appearing, in reference to humans. It translates roughly to those with reserved places in the Dark Realm, or more colloquially, a reserved spot in hell, Brooks finished, his expression grim. They think we're already damned, Martinez nodded. Their religion teaches them that humans are inherently tainted, unworthy of consideration. Destroying us would be a service to their gods. The shuttle rocked as enemy fire grazed their shields. Earth was still weeks away at their current speed, even pushing the engines to their limits. Can we warn Earth? Martinez asked. Long-range communications are damaged. We'll have to get closer and hope someone picks up our distress signal. Brooks adjusted their course, heading for a nearby asteroid field. They think we're damned? Then let's show them what hell can do. The shuttle disappeared into the asteroid field, the Krillian fighter still in pursuit. Behind them, Horizon Station exploded in a final, brilliant flash, marking the beginning of a war neither side had truly prepared for. On Earth, oblivious to the danger approaching, millions of people went about their daily lives, unaware that an alien race had just marked them for extinction, all because of a belief that humans already had a reserved spot in hell. Little did the Krillians know that provoking humans would make them understand why that reservation existed in the first place. 3 months passed since the destruction of Horizon Station. Earth had changed. Cities once bright with lights now stayed dark after sunset. Military vehicles filled the streets. People moved with purpose and fear. President Samantha Collins stood at the window of the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens around her showed the approaching Krillian fleet, hundreds of dark ships moving toward Earth like a storm cloud. How long? She asked. General Frank Miller checked his watch. First ships enter our atmosphere in 6 hours, Madam President. Collins nodded. After Brooks and Martinez had managed to send their warning, Earth had prepared as best it could. But everyone in the room knew it wouldn't be enough. Activate Protocol Prometheus, Collins said. The words hung heavy in the air. Several officers exchanged glances. Protocol Prometheus was never meant to be used. It was the last resort. Yes, Madam President, Miller replied. He turned to his communication officer. Send the order to White Rock Mountain. Tell Dr. Garcia to begin. Deep in the bunkers of White Rock Mountain, Dr. Paul Garcia received the message. His hands trembled slightly as he entered the activation code. Around him, scientists and engineers watched in silence. Protocol. Prometheus is active, he announced. Suit up the first team. In another section of the facility, Captain William Foster stood still as technicians fitted him with the experimental neural link combat suit. The black material covered his body like a second skin, connecting directly to his nervous system. "Well, it hurt?" he asked Dr. Garcia, who supervised the process. "The neural connection? Yes, at first," Garcia answered honestly. "But your brain will adjust. The suit will feel like part of you." Foster nodded. He had volunteered immediately when they asked for soldiers. A former Marine with 12 years of combat experience, he knew what was at stake. "The other 5 members of your squad are already suited up," Garcia continued. "You'll be the first humans to use this technology in combat. These suits will multiply your strength, speed, and reflexes. They'll also protect you from most Krillian weapons, based on what we learned from Brooks and Martinez." Foster looked around at his team. All of them wore the same black suits, their faces a mix of determination and fear. "Where's Brooks now?" Foster asked. "Working with our defense forces in Europe. Martinez is coordinating our satellite defenses. They've been invaluable in helping us prepare." A loud alarm sounded throughout the facility. "They're early," Garcia said, checking his tablet. "The first Krillian ships have entered our atmosphere." The invasion had begun. In Chicago, Nurse Diane Kelly hid in the basement of the hospital with 20 patients too sick to move. Above them, the sounds of destruction grew louder as Krillian ships bombarded the city. "Stay quiet," she whispered to a frightened child. "They'll pass over us." But the building shook violently as something exploded nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered and went out. Diane turned on her flashlight. She had prepared for this. Backpacks filled with supplies lined the wall. Maps marked with safe routes out of the city were folded in her pocket. "We need to move," she told the group. "The hospital isn't safe anymore." One of the doctors shook his head. "Some of these patients can't be moved." Diane met his eyes. "They'll die if we stay." Before the doctor could respond, the ceiling above them cracked. Everyone looked up in horror as a section collapsed, revealing the night sky and a Krillian scout ship hovering directly above them. A bright light scanned the basement. Diane pushed the child behind her, reaching for the pistol hidden under her jacket. The first Krillian soldiers dropped through the opening. They were even more terrifying up close, their 4 eyes scanning the humans with cold curiosity. Diane fired twice. The first shot bounced off the alien's armor. The second found a gap at the neck, sending the soldier crumpling to the floor. The other Krillians raised their weapons. A deafening explosion knocked everyone to the ground. Through the dust and smoke, Diane saw black-suited figures dropping from above. They moved with impossible speed, engaging the Krillians in close combat. Captain Foster led his squad through the hospital basement, his neural link suit translating his thoughts into action almost instantly. He grabbed a Krillian by the throat and threw it against the wall with enhanced strength. "Get these civilians out of here," he ordered 2 of his team. "We'll hold them off." Diane helped her patients to their feet. "This way," she said, leading them toward the exit where Foster's soldiers waited to escort them. She paused beside Foster. "Who are you people?" The response they didn't expect, Foster replied. His attention already back on the fight. Across the world, similar scenes played out as humanity fought back. The Krillians had expected an easy victory. They found instead a species willing to do anything to survive. In the command center, President Collins watched the global situation deteriorate. Despite the new combat suits and humanity's fierce resistance, cities fell one after another under the Krillian assault. "We need more time," Miller said. "Garcia's second wave of suits won't be ready for another week." Collins stared at the map. Red dots showed Krillian-controlled areas spreading like a virus across every continent. "What about the intelligence?" Martinez gathered. "Have we found any weaknesses?" An analyst stepped forward. "Yes, Madam President. Lieutenant Martinez discovered something interesting in the Krillian communications. They follow strict religious protocols in battle. Their belief that humans have a reserved spot in hell makes them both fearful and contemptuous of us." "How? Does that help us?" Collins asked. They expect us to fight like demons, the analyst explained. But they're not prepared for human ingenuity. Their tactics are rigid, predictable. Commander Brooks has been exploiting this in Europe with some success. Collins nodded slowly. Tell Brooks to expand his operations and get me Martinez. I want to know more about these religious beliefs. In Chicago, Foster's team secured a safe zone around a former police station. Civilians streamed in, including Diane and her patients. We need medical personnel, a soldier told Foster. We have wounded, Foster nodded toward Diane. She's a nurse. Diane was already moving among the injured, both soldiers and civilians, providing what care she could with limited supplies. The Krillians are setting up a base at the city center, Foster told his second-in-command. We need to disrupt that. With 6 of us against hundreds of them? The soldier asked. Foster checked his weapon. We have the suits, we have surprise, and apparently we have a reserved spot in hell, he smiled grimly. Let's show them why that should scare them. As night fell, Foster led his team toward the Krillian base. Behind them, Diane organized the civilians into a resistance cell, turning the police station into both a hospital and a fortress. Across the planet, humanity dug in for a long fight. They had lost the first battle, but the war was just beginning. And humans, as the Krillians would soon learn, did not surrender easily. In space, the main Krillian fleet approached, carrying thousands more soldiers. Earth's darkest hour was still to come. 6 months into the occupation, Earth had become a battleground of burned cities and desperate resistance. Captain Foster crouched in the ruins of what was once a shopping mall outside Detroit. His neural link suit was scratched and dented, but still functional. Beside him, 4 remaining members of his original team watched the Krillian research facility through binoculars. Security looks heavy, said Private Lisa Gomez, the team's explosives expert. At least 30 soldiers on the perimeter. Foster nodded. Intelligence suggested something valuable was inside, a high-ranking Krillian scientist named Zerdik who specialized in human biology. President Collins wanted him captured alive. We go in at nightfall, Foster decided. They still don't see. Well, in the dark, even with their technology. As the sun set, Foster thought about the past 6 months. His team had fought across 3 states, helping to establish resistance networks. The neural link suits had proven their worth many times over, though they couldn't match the overwhelming numbers of the Krillian forces. Night fell. Foster gave the signal. His team moved silently toward the facility, their suits blending into the darkness. The attack was swift and precise. Foster's enhanced strength and speed allowed him to disable the perimeter guards before they could sound an alarm. Gomez placed small charges at key points on the outer wall. The controlled explosions opened a path inside. The inner corridors were brightly lit. Foster switched tactics, moving fast rather than trying to hide. 3 Krillians appeared at an intersection. His team took them down quickly. Life signs indicate a concentration of Krillians 2 levels below, said Corporal Ben Wright, checking the scanner built into his suit. They found the stairs and descended. The lower level contained laboratories. Through glass walls, Foster saw tables with human bodies. He forced himself to stay focused on the mission, though anger burned inside him. In the central lab, they found Zerdik. The Krillian scientist was taller than the soldiers, with more elaborate feather-like growths on his head, marking his high status. He didn't resist when Foster's team surrounded him. You are the humans in the dark suits, Zerdik said, his voice translated by Foster's helmet. The demon warriors, as my people call you. Secure him, Foster ordered. We're leaving. The escape was harder than the entry. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Krillian reinforcements closed in from all sides. Foster's team fought their way out, protecting their prisoner. 2 more team members fell before they reached their extraction point, where a modified helicopter waited. As they flew toward the resistance base in the Appalachian Mountains. Foster studied their prisoner. Zerdik showed no fear, only scientific curiosity. Why do you look at me like that? Foster asked. I am trying to understand, the Krillian replied. Your species fights with unexpected effectiveness despite your spiritual taint. Spiritual. Taint? Your reserved place in the darkness? It is written in our most ancient texts that humans alone among intelligent species are born with an inherent connection to the punishment realm. Foster laughed bitterly. Hell, you think we're connected? To hell. Your word is imprecise, but yes. This makes you dangerous, potentially contagious to other species' spiritual purity. This is why the High Council ordered your containment and study. You mean our extinction. Zerdik blinked his 4 eyes in what might have been agreement. The question that fascinates me is why beings already claimed by darkness fight so hard to survive. Foster leaned closer. Maybe because we've been fighting our own darkness a lot longer than you have? At the mountain base, Dr. Paul Garcia waited with Lieutenant Martinez and a security team. They escorted Zerdik to a specially prepared holding cell. Foster followed, his suit moving more sluggishly than usual. You need maintenance, Garcia said, noticing Foster's limping gait. The neural connections are showing strain. The suit's fine, Foster insisted. I need to be present for the interrogation. Martinez stepped forward. Captain, you've done your part. Let us handle this. Dr. Garcia has set up a linguistics team to properly translate the Krillian religious texts we captured last month. We think they might help us understand their weaknesses. Foster reluctantly agreed to let Garcia check his suit. In the maintenance bay, technicians helped him disconnect from the neural links. Without the suit, his body felt weak and vulnerable. Scars from previous battles covered his arms and chest. The connection points are inflamed, Garcia said, examining. Where the suit interfaced with Foster's spine. You need rest. The human body wasn't designed for prolonged neural linking. None of us were designed for alien invasion either, Foster replied, but we adapt. Garcia applied medication to the inflammation. Captain, we've learned something important from the texts Martinez found. The Krillians don't just fear humans because they think we're evil. They fear us because their prophecies say we can corrupt their own spiritual purity. That's why they want to either eliminate us or study us. Study us? You mean like those bodies I saw in the lab? Garcia nodded. Grimly, they're trying to isolate what makes humans different. What gives us our darkness, as they call it. Foster lay back on the examination table, suddenly exhausted. Have they found it? No, and they won't, because they're looking for the wrong thing. Garcia checked Foster's vital signs. They don't understand that human darkness isn't some mystical taint. It's just the weight of our choices, our history. Our capacity for both good and evil. In the secure communications room, Martinez worked with linguist Kate Wilson to translate more Krillian texts. The captured data from Horizon Station had provided a starting point, but the religious materials used more complex language. This section keeps referring to the testing species, Wilson said, pointing to her screen. I think they mean humans. Martinez looked closer. Not tested, the species that has been tested by darkness. Wilson made the adjustment to her translation algorithm. New interpretations appeared on the screen. That changes everything, she whispered. According to this, humans aren't innately evil. We're the only species that has been continually tested by moral choices throughout our evolution. And that's why we have a reserved spot in their version of hell. Because we've been tested? Martinez asked. No, because we've survived the testing. Wilson continued reading. The prophecy states that any species that can face its own darkness and still choose light is dangerous because they can't be controlled by fear. In the Mountain Command Center, President Collins received updates from resistance cells worldwide. The situation remained dire, but patterns were emerging. The Krillians were strongest where they could follow their rigid battle protocols. When forced to improvise, they became vulnerable. Commander Brooks has successfully liberated a coastal area in southern France, an officer reported. His troops used the Krillians' fear of water against them. Collins nodded. Brooks had discovered that Krillians believed large bodies of water were gateways to their underworld. His forces had driven them into a retreat by forcing them toward the Mediterranean. What about the prisoner? Collins asked. Has he provided useful intelligence? Yes, Madam President. Dr. Garcia and Lieutenant Martinez are preparing a full briefing. They believe we've discovered a significant psychological weakness we can exploit. Collins stared at the global map. Small areas of blue showed human-controlled territories in a sea of Krillian red. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Tell Brooks to expand his strategy and get Foster's team whatever they need. It's time we showed the Krillians why testing humans was their biggest mistake. In his holding cell, Zerdik watched the humans through the clear barrier. They were smaller than his people, physically weaker, yet they fought with unexpected ferocity and adaptability. Perhaps, he thought, the ancient texts had misinterpreted the prophecy. Perhaps humans didn't have a reserved spot in hell because they were evil. Perhaps they had earned it by being willing to walk through hell to protect what they loved. The mountain base buzzed with activity as Operation Inferno prepared to launch. In the strategy room, Commander Brooks pointed at the digital map showing Krillian positions across North America. We hit them simultaneously at these 12 points. He said. Brooks had returned from Europe at President Collins' request to coordinate the global counteroffensive. The key is not just physical attacks but psychological warfare. Foster studied the map. His team would target the Krillian Command Center in what was once downtown Chicago. After 3 days of rest, his body had recovered from the neural link strain, though doctors warned against prolonged use of the suit. The modifications to our suits are ready, Foster said. Dr. Garcia's team worked all night. Lieutenant Martinez displayed images of the modified combat suits on the main screen. The black material now bore red markings taken directly from Krillian religious texts, symbols they associated with their underworld demons. We also have these, Martinez said, holding up a small device. Sound projectors that broadcast Krillian? Funeral dirges at frequencies that disrupt their communication systems. Brooks nodded approvingly. We use their superstitions against them. When does Dr. Garcia activate the Hellfire Protocol? Once our teams are in position, Martinez replied. The electromagnetic pulse will temporarily disable their technology, while leaving our modified systems intact. President Collins entered the room, and everyone stood at attention. She looked tired but determined, the weight of humanity's survival visible in the lines on her face. At ease, she said. I've just spoken with resistance leaders worldwide. Everyone is in position. This is our last best chance to push back the invasion. She looked at each person in the room. Whatever happens, know that you've all done humanity proud. Foster suited up with his team, now expanded to include new recruits trained in the neural link technology. The suit connected to his nervous system, and he felt the familiar rush of power as his strength and reflexes enhanced. This time, however, he noticed something different. The suit's surface now rippled with the red Krillian symbols, which seemed to glow slightly in dim light. His helmet included modified visors that made his eyes appear to burn with red fire when viewed by others. We look like their version of demons, said Gomez, examining her own suit. That's the idea, Foster replied. Fear is a weapon, too. The team boarded helicopters modified with Krillian stealth technology captured in previous raids. As they flew toward Chicago, Foster watched the landscape below. Burned forests and abandoned towns passed beneath them. Scars of the 6-month occupation in Chicago. Diane Kelly had transformed her small group of hospital survivors into one of the most effective resistance cells in the Midwest, working from hidden tunnels beneath the city. They had mapped Krillian patrol patterns and identified the aliens' main research facility. When Foster's team arrived at the rendezvous point, Diane was waiting with 30 resistance fighters. The Krillian Command Center has tripled its security since your last visit, she told Foster. They've brought in something big, a ship larger than anything we've seen before landed 2 days ago. Foster shared the details of Operation Inferno. Diane's eyes widened as she saw the modified suits and heard about the Hellfire Protocol. You're going to look like they're demons and then mess with their technology? That's either brilliant or insane. Sometimes they're the same thing, Foster replied. We need your people to create diversions at these points. He showed her the map. Draw their patrols away from the center. Diane nodded. We can do that. We've been practicing. As night fell, resistance cells worldwide began their coordinated attacks. In Chicago, Diane's team set off explosions at Krillian outposts on the city's perimeter. As alien forces rushed to respond, Foster led his squad toward the command center. In the mountain base, Dr. Garcia initiated the Hellfire Protocol. Satellites positioned around the globe activated, creating localized electromagnetic disturbances targeted at areas with heavy Krillian presence. The effect was immediate and exceeded expectations. The disturbances interacted with Earth's atmosphere in unexpected ways, creating strange red auroras and electrical storms. To the Krillians, it looked exactly like descriptions of apocalypse in their religious texts. Foster's team moved through the streets of Chicago, their demon-marked suits blending with the shadows. The red sky above and the strange electrical discharges completed the illusion. When they encountered the first Krillian patrol, the effect was dramatic. The aliens froze at the sight of the suited humans. Their communication devices crackled with static from the Hellfire Protocol. One dropped its weapon and backed away, 4 eyes wide with fear. "They truly believe we're demons," Gomez whispered. Foster activated the sound projector. The eerie wail of Krillian funeral songs filled the air. The patrol broke ranks and fled. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In Paris, Commander Brooks' forces pushed forward against diminishing resistance. In Tokyo, Sydney, and Rio de Janeiro, human fighters reported Krillian troops abandoning positions when confronted with the psychological warfare tactics. Foster's team reached the Chicago command center, a massive structure that had once been a financial building. Inside, confusion reigned. Krillian officers tried to maintain order as lower ranks refused to fight what they believed were supernatural forces. In the central command room, Foster found what they had come for: communication. Arrays connecting to the main Krillian fleet in orbit. Using data provided by Zertic under interrogation, Martinez had developed a signal that could temporarily disable Krillian neural functions. Foster began the transmission sequence. If successful, it would broadcast through the Krillian communication network, affecting their forces worldwide. As the signal initiated, alarms blared throughout the building. Security doors sealed shut. Foster turned to see a Krillian unlike any he had encountered before. Taller, with more elaborate head feathers and armor, it stood blocking their exit. "I am Field Commander Varanak," it said, its voice deeper than other Krillians. "Your tricks do not frighten me, human." Varanak moved with surprising speed, knocking 2 of Foster's team members aside. Foster engaged directly, his enhanced strength matching the Krillian commander's natural power. "Your species clings to superstition," Foster said as they fought. "Ours overcame it long ago." "Yet you use our beliefs against us," Varanak replied, landing a powerful blow that cracked Foster's helmet visor. "We use every weapon available," Foster answered, striking back. "That's why we survive." The fight was brutal. Foster's suit warned of systems failing as the neural connection strained his body beyond safe limits. With a final surge of effort, he knocked Varanak to the ground and pinned him there. "Your signal is transmitting," Gomez called from the communication array. "It's working." On screens around the room, they watched as Krillian forces worldwide suddenly stopped fighting. Their neural systems temporarily paralyzed by Martinez's signal, Foster released Varanak, who remained conscious but unable to move. "Tell your leaders that Earth is not yours to take." Varanak's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "This victory is temporary. The Supreme Commander comes with the main fleet. He does not share our superstitions." Outside, Diane's resistance fighters secured the building's perimeter. When Foster emerged, bloodied but victorious, cheers erupted from the human fighters. "Is it over?" Diane asked. Foster looked up at the red sky, where the Hellfire Protocol continued to create atmospheric disturbances. Beyond that sky, he knew. The main Krillian fleet approached. "No," he said. "But for the first time since they arrived, we have a fighting chance." In orbit, Supreme Commander Drakorv watched Earth's strange red atmospheric disturbances with cold calculation. Unlike his subordinates, he had long ago abandoned religious superstition. He would not be frightened by lights in the sky or humans in marked suits. "Prepare orbital bombardment," he ordered. "If we cannot have this world, neither will they." The first orbital strikes hit major resistance strongholds across the planet. From the Mountain Command Center, President Collins watched in horror as satellite feeds showed the destruction. The Krillian Supreme Commander had changed tactics, attacking from space where human forces couldn't reach. "We need to take out their command ship," Brooks said, pointing to the massive vessel visible on their long-range scanners. "As long as Supreme Commander Drakorov controls the fleet, our victory on the ground means nothing." Lieutenant Martinez studied the data streaming in from their satellites. "The neural disruption signal we used in Chicago won't work on their ships. They've already adapted their systems." Dr. Garcia entered the room, his face grim but determined. "We have one option left, the Lazarus Array." The room fell silent. The Lazarus Array was a network of satellites designed as humanity's absolute last resort. It could amplify and direct the neural disruption frequency globally, affecting all Krillian brain functions simultaneously. But the risks were enormous. "If we miscalibrate by even a fraction, it could affect human brain function as well," Garcia explained. "We'd be risking everyone on Earth." Collins looked at the reports of fresh bombardments. Entire cities were being destroyed. "How long to prepare the array?" "It's ready," Garcia said. "But there's a problem. We need to input the final calibration sequence from the Krillian flagship itself. Their neural patterns are too complex to synthesize from our limited data." Foster, who had returned from Chicago, stepped forward. "Then we board the flagship." The plan came together quickly. Using a captured Krillian shuttle and the stealth technology they had reverse-engineered, a small team would approach the flagship. Foster would lead, with Brooks and Martinez accompanying him. Both had volunteered immediately. "This is a one-way mission," Foster told them bluntly. "The chances of getting off that ship alive are virtually zero." "We know," Brooks replied. "But if we don't try, humanity is finished anyway." Martinez nodded in agreement. "I've been studying their ship layouts since Horizon Station. I can get us to their command center." In Chicago, Diane organized the remaining resistance fighters to protect civilians from the orbital strikes. The underground tunnels became shelters as more bombardments hit the city. "Captain Foster is leading a mission to stop this," she told the frightened people. "We need to hold on a little longer." A young man stepped forward. "What can we do to help?" Diane handed him a communication device. "When I give the signal, everyone needs to activate these. They'll help confuse the Krillian's targeting systems." In orbit, Foster's team approached the Krillian flagship in their stolen shuttle. The massive ship dwarfed everything around it, nearly a mile long with weapons arrays covering its surface. "Transmitting the security codes now," Martinez said, sending the data they had extracted from Veronaka's captured communicator. "Let's hope they still work." The shuttle's communication system crackled. "Shuttle TK-421, you are cleared to dock in Bay 7. Report for decontamination immediately." They had gotten past the first hurdle. The shuttle docked in the massive bay, surrounded by Krillian fighters and transport vessels. Foster, Brooks, and Martinez wore stolen Krillian armor over their neural link suits, a poor disguise that would only work from a distance. "The command center is 23 levels up," Martinez whispered, consulting the ship's schematic on her wrist device. "We need to access the main elevator shaft." They moved through the ship's corridors, avoiding Krillian crew members when possible, neutralizing them silently when not. The ship was on high alert, but the confusion of battle provided some cover for their infiltration. In the elevator shaft, they climbed manually, using their enhanced strength. Foster felt his neural connections straining again, the pain signals from his body increasing. The suit could only push human limits so far before breakdown occurred. They reached the command level and encountered their first real resistance, a squad of elite Krillian guards. The fight was quick but costly. Brooks took a severe hit too, his leg, the alien weapon burning through his armor. "Leave me," he said, his voice tight with pain. "I'll hold this position." "Buy you time?" Foster wanted to argue, but they had no choice. He and Martinez continued toward the command center while Brooks positioned himself at the corridor junction. Weapons ready, the command center doors were sealed. Martinez placed breaching charges while Foster prepared for the assault. They both knew what waited inside: Supreme Commander Drakorv, the most dangerous Krillian they would ever face. "Ready?" Foster asked. Martinez nodded. "For Earth." The charges detonated, blowing the doors inward. Foster charged through the smoke, targeting the tall figure at the center of the room. Drakorv was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, his armor more advanced than any they had seen before. The Krillian commander moved with surprising speed, meeting Foster's attack with equal force. Around them, bridge officers scrambled for weapons or fled the chamber. Martinez fought her way to the main control console. "I need 2 minutes to upload the calibration sequence." Foster engaged Drakorv directly, his enhanced strength barely matching the alien commander's natural power. Each blow damaged his already failing suit further. "Your species fights well," Drakorv said, his voice deep and resonant. "But you cannot win. We have conquered hundreds of worlds." "But you've never faced humans before," Foster replied, landing a solid blow that cracked the commander's armor. Drakorv struck back, a powerful hit that sent Foster crashing into a control panel. Warning lights flashed in his helmet as multiple suit systems failed. The neural connection began to destabilize, sending spikes of pain through his body. With a final surge of effort, Foster reached for the device in his belt pouch, a special transmitter Dr. Garcia had provided. It contained images and records of human history, designed to interface directly with Krillian neural systems. As Drakorv approached to deliver a final blow, Foster lunged forward and attached the device to the commander's armor, where it connected. With his neural interface, Drakorv froze as the flood of information poured directly into his mind. Images of human struggle, sacrifice, compassion, and yes, darkness. He saw humanity's entire history, the constant battle between light and dark within the human spirit. "Calibration sequence uploaded," Martinez called. "Activating now." In the Mountain Command Center, Dr. Garcia received the signal. "Lazarus Array is online. President Collins, give the command." Collins took a deep breath. "Activate the array." Across the planet, the hidden satellite network powered up, broadcasting the precisely calibrated frequency that targeted Krillian neural pathways. On every Krillian ship and ground position, aliens suddenly stopped fighting, their neural systems temporarily overwhelmed. On the flagship bridge, Drakorv stumbled backward, the combined effect of Foster's device and the Lazarus Array breaking through his mental defenses. But unlike his troops, he didn't collapse. Instead, he stared at Foster with all 4 eyes wide. "I understand now," he said slowly. "The prophecy was wrong. Or we misinterpreted it." Foster struggled to stay conscious, his suit barely functioning. "What do you mean?" "Your species doesn't have a reserved place in hell because you are evil," Drakorv said. "You have it because you've already faced your own darkness. You walked through fire and emerged stronger." He turned to his communication officer. "Order all ships to cease fire immediately." The bombardment stopped. Across Earth, humans emerged from shelters to see Krillian ships powering down weapon systems. In Chicago, Diane received the news with disbelief. "They're retreating. We won?" Foster, barely able to stand, faced Drakorv. "This isn't over. Your people tried to exterminate mine." "Yes," Drakorv agreed. "And we were wrong. Centuries of misinterpreted prophecy led us to fear what we should have respected." He removed his command insignia. "I offer myself as hostage while our peoples negotiate peace." 1 month later, Commander Brooks stood before the United Earth Council, his legs still healing from his wounds. Behind him, a memorial wall displayed the names of those lost in the invasion, including Captain William Foster, who had died from neural system failure shortly after returning to Earth. "The Krillians have withdrawn to a designated area of space," Brooks reported. "Supreme Commander Drakorv remains as their representative in peace talks. Their religious hierarchy is undergoing significant reform as they reconsider their interpretation of ancient texts." President Collins nodded. "And the technology they've agreed to share?" Dr. Garcia is already working with their scientists on medical applications. The neural damage that killed Captain Foster may be preventable in future neural interface users. Brooks looked out at the gathered representatives of Earth's nations. The Krillians feared us because they thought our darkness made us dangerous. They never understood that facing our own demons is what makes humans who we are. He paused, his voice growing stronger. If there are other species watching us from the darkness between stars, they should remember this. Humanity has looked hell in the face before and survived. Think twice before provoking us to do it again. In orbit, Drakorv watched Earth from the window of the Peace Conference station. The blue planet turned slowly below, beautiful and terrifying. Humans were indeed a species with a place in what his people had called hell.